north side, or the, I guess, the northwest side of the street, and go all the way up to Manhattan there. These yellow highlighted areas are new pedestrian space that are that the project establishes, again, through that one-way conversion. You no longer need to provide for cars turning left onto Commercial Street, and without the space needed for those turns, you are able to establish, or we were able to design pedestrian extensions, curb extensions that shorten the crossing distances, make it a little less harrowing of a prospect to cross the street here. And so we have that at DuPont, at Clay, at Box, and then also at the corner of Box and Manhattan. And what this one is doing here, at this northwest corner of Box and Manhattan, it's actually addressing what's kind of a pinch point in the sidewalk there. It's really, really narrow and kind of can't really pass anybody there. Part of that is just because the right-of-way is narrow, but there's also some trees there, and this alleviates some of that pinch point on the corner. So this is also now highlighting where we've established new crossings that don't exist right now. When I first made this presentation, or an earlier version of it, there wasn't the crosswalk at this intersection at Franklin at that time, but that's been implemented in-house in the interim. But in the future, we're able to add this crossing across Clay Street, and really, I think the biggest difference here is the stops and crosswalks at Box Street. That's kind of a really tough area to cross as a pedestrian now, with the bus making the big turn, with trucks kind of going in both directions, and this kind of normalizes it and makes it feel a lot safer, or will make it feel a lot safer. And then finally, over all the way on the right side, there's a pedestrian island that kind of splits the left turns on Manhattan from the through and from the right turn over there, because it's a long crossing, and so this gives an opportunity for a pedestrian to go halfway and not have to try to calculate crossing 3 lanes of traffic to get across the street here. So that's the layout there, and then in terms of sort of the finer details of the project, it's a picture. This is an example of what the Greenway looks like in Sunset Park on 2nd Avenue outside Brooklyn Army Terminal. It's a pretty similar cross section. So you have low plantings along the curb, tree pits, and separation from between the pedestrian, the sidewalk, and the bikeway here, and then you have parking on the roadway over here. So there's even more separation from the travel lanes and the bike lanes. The project necessarily will also bring all of the ped ramps in the area up to ADA compliance, and all the signalized intersections, which I think there are 2, will get all of the ADA audible pedestrian signals, the wait button. And then finally, sewer and water main upgrades. I'll have a couple slides to show you what those will be. And then these other street furniture elements, benches, bike racks, wayfinding signage. So this is the DEP's scope. Whenever we do these capital construction projects, we combine the DEP and the DOT scope together. So we're only digging up the street once. And there will be replacing and upgrading and repairing of the sewers in the area, and water mains as well, really on every block that we're working, as well as the last couple of blocks, as I said earlier, between Manhattan and Guinness. So where are we at? We've done the workshops, envisioning as part of the implementation plan a long time ago, granted.
When?
So when?
Yeah.
I think it was, I want to say between 2012 and Yes, it was a while ago, 2012 and maybe 2015, 2016 is when all of that, the workshops and scoping happening where we figured out the traffic analysis part of it. And then we put the project together at that point to get funding. And it really didn't kick off until the design part of it really kicked off only, I want to say, in 2020. And since then, we've slowly been advancing the design. And now we have finished preliminary design, which includes all of these elements. The surveying, the utility conflicts, the layout that I showed you, and the cross-section that I showed earlier. We figure out all the vehicle turning movements that happen there, and really establish where the curb lines would be. And the next part of the design will be all of the like the three-dimensional parts of the design, where you're looking at how the roads are graded, where the drainage happens, how water moves through the site. More detail on the utilities, the landscaping, street lighting and traffic signals, and all the sort of finer details of the materials and the construction work zone, and it's probably stuff I'm leaving out, but that's a final design.
Wait, where are we now?
We've finished preliminary and we've kind of started final design.
Okay.
But there will be what's called a mass mailing distribution of the design. I want to say imminently, probably very soon, and it's called a mass mailing because it gets sent to all of our sister agencies as well as the community board and elected officials and everything. So everybody gets a package with all of the plans in there for their own documentation and review. But we do this presentation now to kind of coincide with that distribution, so that you're oriented to the project, and if you want to take a deeper dive in reviewing it, that you're not starting from scratch.
The public or who's reviewing at that point? You or the government?
We're doing the presentation.
I'm sorry,
I'll
sorry.
recognize speakers later.
I'm sorry, I'm not used to this environment. Sorry. Pardon me.
Here are the major milestones, kind of where we are now. Again, is kind of between design start and design completion. We're kind of in the middle of it, between preliminary and final design. We're looking at construction starting in spring of 28. There's a big gap between design completion and construction start because of procurement and getting the contract for the construction work bid out and approved through OMB, the mayor's office. All of that just takes a really long time, and this is maybe conservative, maybe realistic that it will take a whole year, and then we think it'll take about 2 years to complete all the work. So this is a breakdown of the funding on the project, where the money came from. Overall, it's majority of it did come through the mayor's office.
No,
And, oh, I'm sorry, CHIPS funding, no, you're right. That is this is I think originally it came from the mayor's office, but then we
Do
moved.
you know what CHIP stands for?
Highway improvement, I forget what the C is, but
Citywide Highway Improvement Project?
I don't know if it's citywide, but I think it's something else. I should know that, so I can look it up, but I don't recall. I think it's a highway improvement.
But is that part of the city, the CHIPS funding?
No, I think it's not. Yeah, the generic city funding is always called mayoral, and then reso is when it's coming from a portion of it is coming from elected officials that give some of their discretionary funding towards the project to support moving it forward or getting other funding on it too.
CHIP stands for Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program.
Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program. Thank you so much. So this is actually a pretty low cost for greenway projects now. It seems like a lot of money, but it's going to be pretty transformative change to the street, and I think if we were to scope this project and try to get this funding now for it, we'd be looking at a much bigger number. So that's the extent of it. I think we have some time. It's up to you how much time we want to spend on questions, but happy to jump back to any slides here or
Strap in.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for the presentation. Okay. Before I get into my disappointment.
Yeah.
If you could go back to the slide, just some technical stuff. The yellow, where you have the color codes.
This one?
Yeah. The yellow, you may have said it, I missed it. Is that raised? Is it just paint?
Oh no, that's yeah. Sorry, I should have specified that is full sidewalk extension. So the outline of the yellow area is all like the new curb line.
Okay. And is the west, go back to, I think it's your first slide in this series.
The traffic
Yeah,
one?
go. Yeah, there. So the westbound, commercial that would have to turn left at Box, and
Yeah.
that's the bus.
That's the bus.
Only
Yeah.
the bus.
No. Anybody can make that movement, but it was basically preserved there for the bus operation predominantly.
Maybe you don't want both mics on that.
Yeah.
Because-
Okay.
Yeah, so it's mostly for the bus, but it's also allows for that other pedestrian extension here, because there's not a through movement on commercial there, so you're able to kind of close down and normalize that intersection a little bit more.
Okay, now for my disappointment. Okay, so.
Could you talk a little louder? We can't hear you.
I can, but then there's the feedback, so.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
You can
Yeah.
turn your mics on and off.
Because it seems like important information, we're missing it.
Maybe you can turn your mic off while.
Yeah.
Is it just the power button?
Yeah, just hold it in. Got it. I don't know, not
Okay.
usually fixed. Oh, that's a little better. Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay, so I was not on the board in 2012, which is a long time ago. And I'm just wondering, this is not the first time we've had Commercial Street up on the agenda for this committee since I've been chair, even before I'm chair. So I'm just wondering why something that happened, 14 years ago,
Green Point Landing.
wasn't brought up in 22 after we got back from lockdown and had another charrette or workshop, because you see how full this room is.
This is Commercial Street in 2012.
Yeah, okay. So, there's nothing to do about it now, it's 2026, but why it wasn't, because we've talked about this, it's not like, this is the first time we've heard Commercial Street in this committee. And there was no discussion of bringing up a new workshop or anything else, and it's just a little silly that you're just moving ahead with a plan that's 14 years old with some tweaks. That's one. No start until 28. And again, we've been waiting for this forever and ever, and 28 seems a long way off, and we should be further along, considering how many times we've talked about this at the committee. Sorry about my mic.
We're hearing, or I'm seeing that people can't quite hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear still.
Maybe you should just.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Well, I'll hear feedback. All right, so just to recap, for those of you that didn't hear, 2012 was a long time ago. Why didn't we have a charrette or a workshop after 2022 when we got out of lockdown? Spring of 28, 2 years away to start this project, which is, there's a lot going on here, but 2 years. I understand the funding, you have to go after the funding. I get the bureaucracy with that. However, again, we've been talking about this for years now, years, before the pandemic even. And then 2 years to complete and an $11 million budget? I don't know, it just, this is not what I was expecting to hear tonight. And so I don't know if you or Ms. Cruz can like comment on any of that, and then I'll unleash the torches and pitchforks.
I'll give a quick comment on, yeah, I agree, there should have been more points of contact, you know, or touch points throughout that whole process. One thing I will add is that between the implementation plan release, I think that was around 2012, and the project start, there was actually like an interim project development period where there were 6 different segments of the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway that were advanced through what's called like a capital project scope development study, essentially, where the preliminary designs were drafted, and I don't know that I wasn't involved in those particular years, but I'm not sure that there were no points of contact between, you know, the plan release and the CPSD study, or after, but certainly since you know, the COVID years, at that point, there should have been a reintroduction, and totally hear you on that. The overall timeline is capital projects everywhere take a really long time in New York City, and there are a million reasons I could explain. The DDC could probably give you another $2 million on top of that. That's also a reason why we have such a robust in-house project program at DOT, is that we do so many changes without capital project because they take a really long time. Commercial Street is one of the places where we weren't able to do these changes in-house to a level that the capital project and moving the curb lines allows. Is that too little or too much?
It seems like a crazy number for this kind of project.
I still don't know. I honestly don't know if you're saying it's too little or too much.
Too much.
It's too much, okay.
Very little.
Okay.
I mean, that's not your thing, so I'm not gonna really push on this one. Okay. Do we have that sign-in sheet somewhere? Sign-in sheet room, anybody?
Back here.
Kevin, to the rescue. All right.
Okay, so the way, the way this is gonna work is the committee and board members that are here out of interest will go first with questions. Then I will recognize people as they signed in on the list, and we'll go from there. I have Paul, Merrill, then Bronwyn, and then Katie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I also want to express my disappointment and underwhelmed response to this plan. As long as I've been on the board, we've been hearing community calls for, you know, pedestrian safety, public realm enhancements. We've seen that the bike, you know, this neighborhood's been experiencing a bike boom. And this plan, I mean, it kind of makes sense that maybe you're drawing on data and visioning from 12 or 15 years ago, because it feels like there's a disconnect between what you're presenting and what the neighborhood is today. The bike lane seems way too narrow at 4.5 feet in each direction. The driving lane is overly wide if you're trying to calm traffic. I don't know why there needs to be parking on both sides of the street. It just feels like a plan that's not really geared toward the residents or the community. Maybe you can try to explain a little bit about the thinking about sort of like, yeah, looking at the section.
Sure. Yeah, so there's a finite amount of space between the property lines, right? We have a right of way that we're dealing with, and we have to allocate that space for all the different uses. And there are minimums for what you can do in a given amount of space. And removing a travel lane gives you some more space to work with. Removing a parking lane does that too. You still need access to the curb for some uses. You know, some people have to be able to pick up, drop off, load, unload, what have you. There are a lot of developments here with private parking or parking garages, for sure. And this shows kind of a typical section that there is enough room on either side of the travel lane for a parking lane, but a lot of that space is actually, should we turn this on? Yeah. A lot of that space is, when you look in the plan view, it won't be continuous parking on all the curb in both directions. When you're making the right from DuPont, this right turn, kind of just the shape of the turn means that you actually won't have parking like right there on the far end of it, because the truck wouldn't be able to make that turn if there was cars parked on both sides. So similarly, the bus turn from commercial onto box before the layover has a big swept path. And then those are kind of the things that guide how much width is required curb to curb. The other stuff that determines the bike and pedestrian and green space widths are there are minimums, and like a 8-foot two-way path is the bare minimum. So 9 feet, it's not doing much better than that. I get you. This is not going to be an arterial super high volume capacity situation. It's going to be a slower, narrower greenway feel compared to the West Side Highway or something, which is maybe double this in other sections, in some sections. So, but we do also need width between the bikeway and the road, right? Doors swing open, you need that buffer space. We wanted this to be a greenway with green space, and so having enough room for trees, a lot of new tree plantings, and some of the lower landscaping that I showed you in the example picture. Similar to Kent Ave by the Navy Yard, slightly different cross-section, but same idea. To get that also takes a little bit of space in the cross-section. And then the last part is how much space you're giving to, or allowing, maintaining for pedestrians here is really important. Obviously, a lot of new residents on the street in the neighborhood, and we want to make sure that there's room for people on the sidewalks as well. So we can't pinch those down much more either without, compromising there. So. Did I kind of, I'm like, those are kind of the factors.
It makes it sound like, you started with the driving lane and the 2 parking lanes on either side, and that was set, and then whatever was left over, it was like, okay, we can make a bike lane and some trees and some pedestrian space, but I just feel like that's kind of the wrong way to approach it, and that's not what this community has been asking for as long as I've been on the board.
That's right. Meryl?
I just want to echo what Paul, this is off. I want to echo what Paul and Eric have said, that this is really disappointing. you're going to hear that a lot, sorry. But, yeah, I'm not actually sorry. But, so you're telling us that you need to have certain widths based on the uses, but your use data is from almost 15 years ago, and by the time this goes in, it will be more than 15 years old, which is what we're telling you. All of Commercial Street towards the water is now parkland, it's now housing. There's gonna be a park on Bach Street across the street, so I know you added a crosswalk, but it still doesn't seem like enough. So the data you're using, it was mostly probably cars using that roadway. But the people that are using it now are pedestrians, they're people going to the ferry, they're people that have to either walk or bike to the train. It's not like an industrial area anymore. So this is like really not an appropriate design for the way that the city, with the street is now. And it also, it's part of the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway, which is supposed to go all the way around. It should look like other parts of the Greenway, like around the Navy Yard, which are, you know, grade separated, really nice. I mean, they also are probably undersized for how much traffic they get now, but it's still much better than this, which has taken currently 14 years and $11 million to deliver. Like, this is not a 14-year, $11 million project. And like we want it to look like the rest of the Waterfront Greenway, except wider bike lanes, more access for pedestrians.
Comment?
Thank you. Oh,
No, I turned it on.
Okay. So brutal. I'll want to echo my colleagues here in my disappointment of what you're presenting. I feel like before anyone said anything about any dates during your presentation, as you showed me a 9-foot wide bi-directional bike lane, I thought this plan looks like it was designed before Hurricane Sandy. And it was. That, you know, that's not appropriate for anywhere in New York City anymore. And it's certainly not appropriate for this location, which has, you know, transformed 180 degrees from what it was back in, you know, when Hurricane Sandy, you know, destroyed the city temporarily. So I just want to echo the frustration and disappointment. I feel like this is a very good example of the way that our New York City government agencies fail our city to have taken, I'm sorry, I know you were probably like in high school when this planning started, but sorry, I didn't mean to make it personal, but I just mean, I understand you probably weren't involved in this planning exercise in 2012. And I feel that, you know, it's just incredibly unfortunate and an example of how our processes in our city need to reform in order to respond and provide the infrastructure that we need for today. I'm glad that you still have a year of design ahead of DOT's schedule so that you can, you know, hopefully transform this design. And I know the DOT is absolutely capable of doing that. I would like to advocate that the travel lane be reduced to 10 feet from 12. I would like to advocate that one of the parking lanes be removed so that only one parking lane is provided. That I'd like to advocate that the bike lanes be made twice as wide as they are. That's what's left from removing a parking lane goes back to a twice as wide double width bike lane from what you're showing. In addition to more green infrastructure for rainwater collection, wider sidewalks, for pedestrians, which is dense. And that's appropriate. It's not, there are so many parking spaces provided with the new residential houses there. And it's a very remote area of the city and people are biking all over the place, and biking and e-biking is not going to decline, it's only going to increase. So this isn't adequate for even today's usage, let alone 2028's usage when it's actually implemented. The last thing I'll say that I didn't see referenced in any of your presentations was loading zones. And I think that in a design like this, that's really critical.
That is a component, I
Okay,
should say.
great.
I didn't
I should have asked, yeah.
get that,
Granular.
like granular with it, but
Yeah.
absolutely like full, kind of inventory and assessment of all of the curb uses and all the curb regulations are 100% part of it. I just didn't go into that
Fair.
exact level. of
Yeah.
detail.
I think it's important, and I'll just say personally, that Newtown Barge Park there's constant loading and unloading there for kids that are going for their sports teams there. So I think loading zones are really also important, so I'm glad to hear that they're incorporated. But I hope you can, that's my feedback. I know you're gonna hear more from others. But yeah, we hope that there's time to make a lot of radical changes to this still and remain on the timeline.
If I can speak to that, yeah, no, that's exactly what the last little clause you added there would be the trade-off, right? To make radical changes means more money, more time. And I totally understand like the sunk cost fallacy thing here, like we shouldn't do something just because you've already done part of it, but that is the trade-off. If the city should choose to halt design, it's not like we can just make edits going forward. It's actually you walk back the clock towards the beginning of preliminary design again. And to do that means get more OMB approval for more money to restart the whole thing. And then you're not looking at 2030 completion, you're looking at like maybe a few years later. So that, and not just more time, but again, getting more money. Every year that you program your construction, you have to pay even more money for the inflation of the costs up there too. So I totally hear you. Like I also, once again, like I share the frustration that these capital projects take so long and our design standards outpace them, at like a very rapid clip, and we're always trying to play catch up on these major investments. It's something that we try to improve on with all of our processes. When we're talking about these projects that started a decade ago, it's not like we can just fix this one. It's like we need to fix the whole system, but we also need to make those improvements for all the projects that we're starting now. And I guarantee you the projects that we're starting now are going to be confronted with like the different design thinking when they're 6 years in. So it's a constant struggle. It is really difficult, and we try to bridge the gap at DOT with our in-house improvements, and we try to make the projects keep up with that like change in culture and change in design standards, and that like that's my whole career is trying to catch up with that. Like we're really invested in it, and I totally understand the frustration.
Can I just ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Is there the opportunity to potentially invest in-house funding in a commercial street redesign that I think you guys can design a lot faster when you're just using paint and physical materials?
Right.
Yeah.
Would there be an opportunity to put in an in-house redesign like now and put paint down, take away a parking lane, you can change directions of traffic, that's not capital, and then
Right.
go back to the drawing board with the capital investment plan?
Some of it, yes, but I don't know that I can promise that. Like I actually
Sure.
don't know like that. I think when this was originally scoped, like many segments of the Greenway were implemented with in-house projects, right? That like all of Kent, part of Kent got built out capitally.
Yeah.
Flushing was done in-house before it was done capitally. Like that's absolutely like a model. It wasn't done here for part of the reason being the traffic changes and the head-on condition here. Like you could do that in paint, but there are other complications with it that maybe we weren't able to solve when the decision was made to advance capital, but it's something that we could
I would vote for
look at.
doing an in-house project better and fast now, and then taking longer in capital to fund more.
Yeah.
Because if we put this now as permanent materials, It's in
That's
forever.
what- Right, it's that for decades.
Sorry, I just wanna, the thing that you're talking about saying you could do that in paint, they actually did, not as part of a capital project, basically that, as part of the Scott Avenue redesign, with concrete as a part of a street improvement project.
Right.
So it's possible to do that as your SIP.
Sometimes, yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't, concrete doesn't have to be capital.
right.
Did you wanna say something else?
Austin's
on the committee, though.
Austin,
Yeah.
Katie,
Rosemary's on the committee. Rosemary should.
yes, you're right, thank you. So, yes, whatever.
Okay, I've got, I guess, a question and then comments. But the comments would be, I agree with everyone who's spoken thus far about our level of disappointment. I was at the launch of the first really wide bike lane on 9th Avenue 5 years ago. So it's not like we're coming up with this today. Like, this has been a great idea that the city has been implementing for almost 5 years already. So we're already behind the 8 ball on here. There's lots of really wide bike lanes in Manhattan. It's clear that it's a priority to do them there, but this has just been backburnered for 15 years, which is tremendously disappointing. As far as the bike lane, the greenway, the rest of the greenway is also much too narrow. We already experienced that it's too narrow, and this is basically the same. In the summer, when the greenery, when the foliage, it overgrows, it basically compresses that to a 4-foot wide bike lane. So all of the stuff that makes it green also makes it a too narrow bike lane. So this should be much wider. I ride the greenway regularly to Red Hook, and there's already some of the heavy duty cargo bikes that the DOT has approved and has been pushing, which have they're huge fans of it. They're very aligned with this mode. But the legal width that it can be is 4 feet wide, a 48-inch cargo bike. And these are operating in Red Hook right now, and they will be coming to our neighborhood, and they will be operating legally and safely on this greenway. But 2 of those together it's much too small of a bike lane.
Yeah, agreed.
Then the question I had is, do you know the consultant group that did the design? Can you share that name?
Is it? Sorry, I can't remember. Entech, E-N-T-E-C-H.
Thank you.
But, they didn't do it in a vacuum. They did it with DOT and DDC, in lockstep the whole way.
Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to say that I beg to differ from the rest of my fellow committee members, and I do support this plan. Our neighborhood in Greenpoint has been victimized for a long time with the removal of existing parking space. We have nowhere to park. And I speak for a lot of the residents in this neighborhood that although they may not be here, I have heard, that all of our parking spaces is basically being taken away from us. So I'd like to offer my support for this plan, and please ask you that do not remove the parking space. And thank you for, coming here, presenting, and letting us know. But I speak for a lot of the residents of Greenpoint. We need our parking space to be preserved, not removed. And the bus stops too.
In discussing the timeline, and you've heard a lot about, this was 15 years ago. Can you confirm, is this design actually based on a traffic study that was done in 2012?
No, sorry if I glossed over that. The Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway implementation plan, which was what I showed on this side, this was a planning process that was done I think it was like 2011, 2012. I think it came out.
The Open Space Master Plan was done in 2010. The Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway Master Plan was done in, where is he?
Does Hunter know?
Where's Hunter? 2012.
2012. That's what I was referring to. And so that plan, it identified routes and proposed different, like if you did the greenway on this street, here's a potential cross-section. If you did it on this street, here's the potential trade-offs. And so it established like preferred routing and preferred, or not preferred, sort of a segments for how the overall route could be advanced through individual projects. That's what the implementation plan was. Then there was just like, honestly, like, I don't want to say a cascade, but there were just like, every year we were doing projects on the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway, different segments, you know, in parallel. Some of them were able to go forward very quickly with implementation, or with in-house projects. Some of them required big traffic analysis and changes and capital investment. You can't get all the capital investment in the city into one neighborhood in 1 year. It has to be sort of spread around and programmed and phased and prioritized, which is why we had a bunch of other capital projects for the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway.
Yeah,
advanced
all of
all
that-
at different
yeah,
schedules.
all of
And
that makes sense.
Commercial's just like where we're the one that is at this stage now.
Sure, but I guess, again, it was the traffic study.
The traffic study was done actually, the data in the traffic study is definitely old. It's probably from around, I would have to look at it, but I would guess around 2015, 2016, when the CPSD projects were being scoped. And that was that set of 6 projects that, where we did a little bit more, we like moved the ball forward on scoping capital projects for them, but hadn't yet gotten the funding to build them all. So it was those were the ones that had big traffic components.
Can you go back to the commercial street plan? Yeah. So I mean, you've heard from everyone. Obviously, you know, if this is one of your projects, you know the great amount of building that's taken place since that traffic study, including Greenpoint Landing, which is the same density as Hudson Yards, at that corner, just at that corner right there. We have, by the time this is done, we'll have a new school right there on DuPont. I don't know if that was taken into account with your planning. And that doesn't include the entire corridor of commercial that's also filled with thousands more, in addition to the Hudson Yards size Greenpoint Landing, thousands more of residents up and down commercial streets. So it seems, as reiterating from my colleagues, that those changes cannot have been included in the traffic study that was in 2015 before these
Right.
projects started.
Yeah, I'll add, just to jump in, the traffic study was basically to prove that we could change the direction of the streets and go from a two-way street. I didn't even turn this back on. Go from a two-way street to a one-way street on commercial and box without there being like all this like gridlock and breakdown of congestion. That's essentially what the traffic study was proving, was the network change, not the traffic.
No, I get it, but I mean, again, whatever happened, whatever you proved in 2015, it may be fully different at this point. And the other thing I'll say is also kind of in disagreement with some of the comments, which we don't want this the whole way, or like a lot of the other parts of the Greenway. If you go right around the West Street, right around on West Street, it's a disaster. It's fully a disaster. And so this looks to me I live on West Street. This looks very much to me like a continuation of some of the challenges that we already face living on West Street just around the corner. And it seems like now, knowing that, learning those lessons, we're just actually starting from scratch and continuing the same thing again. Similar to what we're gonna talk about in probably 10 minutes, which is Kent Avenue. How it was designed doesn't reflect how it's being used or what the community needs. And it seems like rather than learning from that experience, we're potentially going to be repeating it. So I, do echo, my colleagues that it does seem like we need to start a little bit based on what we know now, and what exists there now, as opposed to what we didn't know in 2015 and what wasn't there in 2015.
Right. So if I could just also add, the traffic study would not have been limited to the existing condition in 2015, it wasn't just collecting data of what's out there. The traffic study also incorporated every known approved development that was on the books at that time. I'm sure that wasn't 100% of them, but it wasn't 0% of them either. Like many of these had gone through the environmental review process at that point and would have been accounted for.
The traffic study was done by 2020.
Well, that was when it was, I think when it was like updated and revised.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like all of the no-build stuff was brought in much earlier, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, yeah,
Explain what that was.
he was just showing me the date of the traffic study being finalized, which was 2023, which means we were sort of refining the traffic study as we went up until that point. And even if the data were collected in 2014, 2015, you know, in the lead up to the traffic study, it was not finalized until we actually moved forward with the design and knew what the proposal. You could compare the proposed project against the existing and the no build. Like what is the hypothetical condition of the street at the time the project is completed if you didn't do the project? Meaning, what does it look like just based on all of the developments that have been happening, that have been, you know, coming online since then? So they mostly do account for that. I'm sure it's imperfect, but they mostly do account for that.
Okay. All right, yeah. Who else is here? Any of our committee members? Steve?
Or board members?
I'll play Phil Donahue myself. Take good notes, Paul.
Yeah, I'm Steve Chelsea, I'm on the board. Yeah, just layering on everything that's been said, it's just too long of a period. Just source the design on it just seems very stale. And for me specifically is the post-Sandy world in terms of storm burst events and retaining water, and how the street can be part of that defense, and storm surges as storm intensity is increasing with sea level rise, et cetera, et cetera. And then on the granular level, I seem to remember when this whole initiative started, one of the sticking points was a loading bay at the Greenpoint Manufacturing Design Center. So I think it would just be good to hear about how that's being addressed, and the switching the direction of the DuPont Street on that block between, I guess, West and Franklin. Just the merits of doing that. It just seems like if people actually move along DuPont to that spot, I don't know why they would do that. Versus people who are going north on Commercial, and they don't want north on West, and they don't want to continue Commercial. They'd like to cut up on DuPont to get to to Manhattan Avenue.
Well, yeah, but DuPont.
DuPont goes that direction right now. I see.
Is west up there. So
Right.
We would just be continuing it there.
I see.
And Eagle and Clay also are eastbound.
Right. It's just sort of like it's not a dead end, but it's just, yeah. I suppose someone would drive down there, but looking for parking. But yeah, that was just the main thing. Like the master plan they referred to is out of date, just in terms of like park development.
Sure.
Conditions on the ground have changed, and the designs are changing, and as the neighborhood changed. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll add a couple responses to that, which are yes, definitely a lot of new park activity. There's the forgive me, I forget the name of the park that is coming in here at Box Street Park. Thank you. We have been coordinating with parks on that. Where MTA's Emergency Response Unit is also right next to that, or kind of in that same lot. They have I'm not sure the exact timing of it, but there's a longer term plan to relocate them to a different facility. I don't know exactly the status of that. But we've definitely been working with them on that. For sorry, there was one other thing you said. I'm trying to remember.
The loading zone.
Oh, the loading zone, right.
The Greenpoint Manufacturing Design Zone.
Yeah, so for that one, it's very hard to see here, but we basically treat it like a long driveway, even though right now I know that trucks pull right up to the loading bays and block the sidewalk and everything. Our design will make that not feasible, not acceptable for them to park on the sidewalk. So we've essentially made enough space in the roadway for them to load from the curb across the bike lane when needed. And if they need to block the bike lane completely, or the sidewalk completely, they have to, or they will have to create sort of a detour with like barriers or cones or something like that.
Have you consulted with the property owner and businesses there about that?
For that one, for that one, I honestly don't recall if that was one of the meetings that we had. There was a variety of stakeholder meetings that we've had over the past few years. I don't remember if that was one that we had like a standalone meeting with.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can get back to
bringing
you
up,
on
because
that.
the Grand Street, I mean, kind of a flashpoint on Grand Street
course, yeah.
is the loading bays
Yeah.
there and the bike lane, you know.
Steve, can you ask what the stakeholder meetings were and then they weren't? Can you ask what they were? Can you ask what the stakeholder meetings were and then they weren't?
No, I didn't ask.
I heard you. We can get the meeting list and share it. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head all of the touch points that might have happened between our borough office, our borough office and the various folks. They might have not have been standalone meetings, they might have been correspondence
Recently?
over the past few years, yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'm gonna recognize Teresa Toro, CB1 alum and rock star, former transportation chair in 2012, I believe.
Yeah, you're getting a beating tonight, and I'm okay with that.
It's okay,
but,
I prefer,
yeah, you're
I
the
prefer
designated.
you're not doing enough rather than you're
Yeah.
doing too much.
And I do have to point out, though, that, you know, your main argument seems to be that, you know, continuing this project as it is because it's necessary to throw good money after bad, which is not a great argument. You know, that you've gotten to this point, so you just have to keep going, which is, I would urge you to rethink that. You know, having been the Transportation Committee chair before, I've seen my share of, you know, street redesigns, and it's always great to implement, you know, all these changes in a street redesign because it does save a lot of money. I would say this isn't even a great street redesign. There's not a lot of innovation, there's not a lot of safety, there's not a lot of anything. But my biggest criticism, you know, even as a safety advocate, is do you know this is a flood zone? We're talking about a greenway, but in parentheses, you're just noting this is an off-street bike path. That's not a greenway. I urge you to get a dictionary and look up what a greenway is. Just because there's a tree planted doesn't make it a greenway.
Sure.
Where are the bioswales? Where's the permeability?
Sure, yeah.
Where is the greenway plan? This ain't it. I'm seeing a tree, that's nice, but this is a flood zone. I don't see any climate change
Right.
anticipation
Absolutely. Yeah.
built into the plan. If you're glossing over things, this is not the time or place.
There's
right?
a lot of words on this slide. Green infrastructure is part of our final design tasks. So
More
that,
trees.
So that's everything. It's literally all of the green part of the greenway it happens in final design. And I know that seems like overly simplified and partitioned, but like DDC and our consultant have been doing borings of all the soil to see where it's permeable. How DEP has reviewed, you know, all of the needs for like sewer capacity and everything like that. It's not. It seems like an afterthought. I get it. I totally hear you. Like we want it to be as much of a greenway as you do, for
Okay,
sure.
because also, and also the Greenway is, kind of, in conflict with, and climate change, it is a little bit in conflict with, a healthy community, and there is, are you really listening to people? We've got a huge demographic wave coming in, and this is, again, you're looking at data from over a decade ago, and traffic data, but also a population demographics that are just, I don't think you really have been looking at what numbers of people have been coming in. You've got to revisit these numbers. I don't think anybody has really been thinking to look at these numbers, and I don't know the last time you did any workshops, but this is not it. I don't know. I'm gonna turn this over to somebody else, but I'm not seeing it, and I think you need to revisit what you're doing here. Because anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, before I go to the list, I'll do one more recognition of a CB1 alum, Kent Costa.
Hi, thank you for being here. I think you've heard from everyone that this ain't it, but most people who have commented have said that this ain't it, and I feel like this is a typical DOT project where, as DOT tries to make everyone happy, the consequence is that no one is happy and everyone remains unsafe. And this project, if you go back to the AutoCAD drawing here, I see missing crosswalks all over the place. I see potential plaza on Franklin Street that's totally ignored. I see a lot of missed potential to build actual bulb outs, to take away a lane of parking in order to make transportation more accessible in this transit desert. I see a lot of missed opportunities, and we've heard that this is based on community feedback starting in 2012. We all know that the neighborhood looked very different then, and it's unacceptable that DOT is bringing us this bad project, and then I'm sorry, I'm forgetting your name here, but saying that Teresa, that we're so far along that we should just go along with this in order not to restart the process. But we are a savvy community board, and if you tell us what we need to do in order to accelerate this, we'll do it. If we need to bombard the budget director's office and say, we need this to be advanced in the capital plan, we'll do it. If we need to help facilitate DOT and DSNY and DEP to get those BIOS files, we'll do it. What do we need to do? Do we need to send a letter? Do we need to push back on you guys alone, or give us the tools to help you? Because this, like everyone here has said, except for some, ain't it? And there's nothing here that's gonna make anyone safer. There are still missing crosswalks, and it's unfathomable to me.
I know it may look like that. We did.
Are they missing from the drawing?
No. Is there a particular?
Because there's several crossings that are missing here.
At Clay Street or something like that?
That would be one.
There are. This is going to sound like a really dry answer. There's federal standards for where you can approve a crosswalk, and they have to do with the distance to the next crosswalk. So when you have the intersection at Franklin, the one at Clay is too close to have its own crosswalk without basically removing the middle one or somehow combining this into one giant intersection.
We've seen mid-block crossings.
Yeah, mid-block, but mid-block is still a distance from the next one for it to get approved.
I was just saying that it's lacking here. And then the one other note I'll have is that if you've ever been in this area, you know that trash is a mess, and there's very little on-street trash containerization mentioned, if at all, here. So that's another opportunity that I think could be explored, should be explored.
Yeah.
Amongst the very many that I'm sure you're going to continue to hear about today.
Yeah.
This ain't it.
Trash containerization could absolutely is not incompatible with this design, and generally, I mean, maybe I could add a bullet for containerized trash in here. That's usually not a decision of like capital design, but sort of, you know, collaboration with the property owners and.
Yeah, it would also be helpful to learn more about what some other people have said, like what kind of SIPs can be implemented in the short term, like how much of this project is capital versus expense, if it's all capital. I'm not
It's
sure
all
if you
capital
work
at
is
this
that.
point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just disappointing at best.
Rosemary, and then we'll go to the public.
I know you have heard from a lot of people that are here that this is not a good plan, but I think that this is a plan that meets all the residents halfway. Although the people that are here are telling you that it's not a good plan, there's a lot of residents out there that I have spoken to, that I have heard myself, that they believe that we need to preserve more parking for the residents. And even though, you know, these are extreme views that some of the people that are here, what they're saying, that we need to remove parking, we need to widen, shorten the sidewalk. These are very extreme views that do not favor all the residents of the neighborhood. Not everyone feels that way. So I think that to meet everybody halfway, keep this plan, keep our parking, do not remove the 2 lanes of parking. We need more parking in the neighborhood, not to remove more. I think that, meeting everybody halfway would be this plan as it is now. Even though you're listening to all these people here, but there's a lot of residents out there that are not here that feel the same way that I feel.
Thank you. Sorry, one more thing before I go to the public, bear with me. Julio, sorry, maybe I brought my glasses. Julio Rivas from Senator Gonzalez's office. Why don't you come up?
Thank you. Thank you, DOT, for coming out today and for presenting us tonight. Thank you for everybody for coming out, the board for having me. My name is Julio Rivas. I'm the state senator's Brooklyn Point. Very excited to meet you all. I just wanted to say, glad that many folks are out here voicing your opinion. DOT, please take this feedback. I think it's very important that we are listening to the communities with the facts and the realities at present. So I encourage everybody to please continue to advocate on this very important issue. I think we all want safe streets, and we need to make sure that we are providing a design that's safe, not only for pedestrians and also for bicyclists, but also makes car drivers safer. So thank you so much to everybody, and with that, let the public continue.
Thank you. Okay. So I know not everybody is here to speak on this issue, and a couple things. The way that you'll be reflected in the public record in the report, just to make this move along. So I think the committee has covered a lot of the criticisms, and the speakers have covered a lot of the criticisms. So I'm giving everybody 90 seconds to say what you gotta say, but if you agree with what has been said before, I will take note of your name and I will put you in the list with those that agree, just as a point that you're on the record as disagreeing with the plan or approving of the plan, however you fall, yes? Okay. If you have a specific technical point, that is appreciated, so we can make that, and I will add that as a specific point in the record. And the last thing is, this is a public meeting. We are here to be civil to each other. We still have the freedom of speech for a couple more months, maybe. So let's use that to be constructive citizens and not yell at each other. And also, please respect the presenter. No, personalities, etc. Let's just keep it all civil. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. With that said, I'll call your name, and you can either say you want to say something or pass or whatever, okay? Just because I have like 6 pages of like people that sign up. Okay. Karen. Pass. Ms. Bender? Pass. Okay. Mr. LeBron? Pass. Okay. Other Mr. LeBron? Pass. Okay. Chesler spoke. Jocelyn LeBron? Pass. Okay. Moving right along. Garrett Benson? Okay. Yeah. Actually, why don't you all, when I call your name, just come to the front if you got something to say. I think that's just easier. Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Call the next name.
Yes, okay, all right, so, stand over here for a second, thanks. Okay, so we got Mr. Benson, Nicholas Isaacson. Here he comes. Zinbin Zhu is, okay, yeah. Mr. Zhao, okay. Miss Latoya Jackson. No, okay. I love that. Okay. Daniel Warren is with the presenters. Okay, great. So how many we have? Two? Sorry guys, hang on. Zach Eisenstadt. Here he comes. All right, and then on deck is Zach Leader, Brent, and Santiago Lacatos. I'm sorry, I can't really read that. Okay, all right, so we'll do that, and then, oh boy, let's start with John Robbins. Okay. All right, go ahead. So you have 90 seconds. Where's my phone? Go.
Thank you. Hi, I respectfully disagree with your plan. I think you can go a lot further to make the neighborhood I care about safer. I guess I won't repeat what I've heard from everyone else extensively, but I'll just say, when I go to meet my friend that lives at Blue Slip and take her kid to the park right there, we try to cross Commercial. And, you know, currently there are a couple sidewalks. There are quite a few missing sidewalks. A lot of times the cars are parked in those sidewalks and then you have to peek around. So quite a few times we were almost struck by cars. Right now, it seems like cars will still be encroaching upon that space with them parked on both sides. So I hope that you could get a little bolder with expanding the space for people. And I'm glad it was mentioned there are some missing crosswalks because it sounds like you have some solutions to add them. A giant intersection would be lovely. That sounds quite safe for us to cross the street. And I guess the other thing I think about a lot is when Commercial's underwater, when it rains. That isn't so pleasant when I get home or when I visit my friends. And so I guess the stormwater retention is important. And yeah, for the thousands of people in those buildings, a few car spots lost to that water going away quicker makes it a little easier to get home. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. There we go. Okay, Mr. Isaacson.
I just want to echo a lot of the points about how this plan was fairly disappointing. And I then just have a quick question of, I just want to be clear, I'm not sure if this wasn't mentioned before or if it's not happening, but is there daylighting going to be happening at these intersections?
Finish, make your whole.
No, that's it.
I think some of them will effectively have daylighting at Box Street corner and at DuPont. Like there wouldn't be parking on the approaches to the stop bar at DuPont because the turns have to be able to clear the corner, and so the parking would not be at this corner. And again, on the ones around Box Street, I would have to look at what the clearances are for clay. Certainly not on the approach here after this crosswalk, but so I think mostly yes, but we can look for opportunity to do more daylighting if wherever it's feasible.
Thank you. Great. Jan, sorry. Zach?
Yeah.
Okay.
First Zach. Yeah, thank you. My name is Zach. I started commercial, the project that got those initial crosswalks in that are now constantly being parked in. So I'd first like to say that, like, in the meantime, it would be great if DOT could step in and do something to protect what minimal protections are already there. I fully appreciate people's desire for parking, but we are talking about 30 parking spots, give or take 1 or 2. So when people talk about it, they really mean I want to park close to my apartment. There's very easy, I drive a car, I find parking, I have to walk a little bit. I have a tiny little kid and a slightly bigger but still tiny little kid. I get there are people with disabilities, there are ways to figure this out. There are ways to get people to their homes. We need a lot more here. There's thousands and thousands of people walking with little kids. Like, we haven't even talked about the fact that the city bike blocks the parking, but the playground, that should probably be moved. There's literally the bathrooms for the field across the street, there's no crosswalk. Right there, there's literally no crosswalk between where kids are supposed to play and where they're supposed to go to the bathroom. How is that safe? We need daylighting the whole way. There should be a crosswalk expecting where Box Park is gonna be, because people will walk down the street and be like, oh, I have to get to the other side. There's, in the current plan, no expansion of the sidewalk, despite the fact that we should expect that that's where most people are gonna walk. So why have a wider sidewalk where there are fewer people? It should be on both sides. We need to very much protect the bike lane from the people lane. I mean, I think we need to do something dramatic here, because this is a pedestrian, very residential neighborhood with people with disabilities. A ton of kids are moving in. There's gonna be a school where, like, we just need to really focus on who's gonna be living there and not.
The other Zach.
The other Zach, okay. Say your last name?
Lighter.
Just to echo some of what the other Zach said, Franklin Commercial, those crosswalks are constantly blocked. Drivers don't stop. Is there something in your plan that adds visibility to the stop signs? Are there bumps? Are there infrastructures added to the ends of the crosswalk, like the ends of where cars park, so that they can't actually park in the crosswalk? We need barriers. Somehow the MTA was able to install yellow curbs into the street to, like, protect their entranceway. We need to do that now on our crosswalks and as part of the plan.
So at Franklin, it's very hard to see from
Before
here.
you answer it, I'm sorry.
Something else. You're talking about digging up the street, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the plan for dust mitigation? When they tore down DuPont and put up the DuPont, they had to have the vacuum sealed tent. How are you protecting residents from the soil and the contaminants that we know that are in the street?
I don't have the exact answer to that. We can give you, like, the detailed dust mitigation spec that will go in the contract. That can be a follow-up that we provide. I don't know exactly that detail.
Can you more fully explain obstacles to parking?
Yes, so for the Franklin Street intersection, again, I agree, it's very hard to see. There is a bump out for the sidewalk here. So the curb line comes out towards the roadway here and allows, or like basically makes it so that if somebody wanted to park their car to block the crosswalk here, they would be sticking out kind of into the travel lane now, or into the travel lane in this design, which it's not impossible, but that means they're blocking somebody who's going to be laying on their horn behind them. Right now, you can pull out of the way of traffic and just block the crosswalk without blocking another car. So that's one sort of geometric, like, curb line change there. I totally hear you that we want to prevent that blocking of crosswalks as much as possible. The other ways we will try to do that is by having as sensible of curb regulations as we can have. Some people block the crosswalk often because it's the easiest spot for them to pull into to do a pickup or drop off, a delivery, whatever. And that means that there should be another spot for them on the curb when they need to do those activities, whether it's a loading zone, metered parking, a no standing, no parking area where nobody should be parking, but you can legally do pickup drop off. So the short way of answering that again is curb regulations. Make it so that there's a place for people to pull out of traffic and not have to block a crosswalk.
With respect, it's not people picking up and dropping off, it's the local residents that are.
They're parking, okay,
days.
yeah.
For days.
That's not just, yeah, totally.
That's enforcement.
That's enforcement, yeah.
Well, yeah, and design. Okay, it's a whole other argument. Brent.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. My name is Brent. Few things I'd like to point out in terms of people talking about a missing crosswalk. I think what one to point out is how Zach talked about the bathroom and the playground, is that it's already a curb cut there that has a raised bumped pattern. And so it's like where people expect their crosswalk to be, but there isn't. And so I think that's one. I'd also say on Franklin.
That's right in the middle here.
Yeah. As well as in Franklin on kind of like the eastbound approach, having daylighting. Got some feedback, I'll walk, step back. Having some daylighting on the side of the park. Like you talked about with the bike lane, there's somewhere a person can stand.
On Franklin right here.
On the west side, yeah, as you're traveling down Franklin, because that's not needed for a turn. That would be a great spot for daylighting. And then generally, like since drainage has not been figured out for any of this, which in my understanding is the most complicated part of a lot of these contracts, is like how does water drain in a road and where are the storm drains? Since none of that's been figured out, I'd really love some creativity in figuring out how to change the contracts now to adapt the designs everyone's been talking about. So that's what I would like to say, because the hard engineering part hasn't even been done yet. So we shouldn't need years just redo a contract when we don't even know the engineering of it.
Would just echo the disagreement and the disappointment. Two small things. I live on a one-way now that's pretty wide, and I'm concerned that the width of the one-way here will actually incentivize people to double park, because if it kind of feels like you can kind of just pull a little bit over and it looks like there's enough space for people to go by, people will tend to leave their car there, and it'll end up with the same kind of condition we're trying to avoid, which is people blocking traffic. And the other thing I would just add is, there's a lot of, I would echo everything else people said about crosswalks, but is there any idea to add raised crosswalks in some aspect? You'd be amazed what people, they see the red stop and they say, I don't care, and they just keep going. And if you had a mid-block crosswalk that doesn't have a stop sign, you have the same kind of problem.
I don't think there's the space that you think there is for people to double park where there's two.
I don't think that
Yeah.
they think.
Oh, sure, yeah, I understand. They think that. If there's a car on both sides here, if there's a parking lane rather on both sides and there's a car in it, that's really only leaving a 12-foot travel lane here. Even if it were 14 feet, that means that you have like a car pulled all the way over and then maybe 7 feet on the other side of that. So like at best an emergency vehicle can maybe squeeze through if somebody's pulled over kind of into where there's a hydrant or where some of that daylighting might be, or some other no parking thing. Somebody can let an emergency vehicle go through, but this cross section is about as narrow, or it is really as narrow as that we have anywhere in the city where with parking and a travel lane like this.
Thank you. Okay, next set of speakers. Just before you get up to come up, just raise your hand if you're going to speak on this issue. John Robbins. No. Miracles. Julia Foster? Negative. Okay. Sharon Knight? No? Okay. I love it. Mr. Zhao is with DOT. Mr. Mark Carnegie? DOT too? Is he there? Oh, okay. Kevin Costa spoke. Ramon Collins, I think that's Ramon. Is it Ramon Collins? Yes, you're gonna speak, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad handwriting.
Rachel Smith?
Yeah.
Mind reader, okay. Okay, y'all come up. And Joseph Landis. He left, okay. Anna Ortiz. She left. Ben Tweedy? Come on up. Winnie Pritchett? Is it Pritchett? Am I saying that right? Looks like Winnie. No? Okay. No. Britt Bird. Britt Bird.
From Antonio's office, he left.
Oh, okay. Mr. Rivas, we heard from Hunter Armstrong, pacing in the back, waiting to come up. Okay. Kevin Lucera, returning champion. Harrison Borges. And we heard from Ms. Toro. Okay, and that actually completes the speakers on this item. And again, you have 30 seconds. Please, state your whole question and then, or statement, and then if there's a chance to respond, we'll let them respond. Okay. Sorry, gotta go back to where I am. Just tell me your name.
Hey, Eamon Collins. I would like to thank you for your presentation and echo a desire for a wider bike lane. But I was also hoping to get maybe some clarification on the numbers, the $11 million figure. How much of that is proposed future spending? How much of that has already been spent as part of the planning process? And if we were to maybe go back to some planning, maybe a ballpark of what we could expect on additional funding that would be needed for the planning that has already been done.
Sure. Good. So that was it, right?
Yeah.
So most of the planning, the money that was spent during the planning process is actually not captured here because that was, a different, in a very different bucket years before this. And the money that was spent during that, what I call the scope development period, where we kind of advanced the design on a handful of other projects, Commercial Street and 5 others, that's also not captured here. This $12 million is for the design and construction. The total design is about a little over $1 million, and the total construction is the remaining $10 million, and then these other resident engineer inspection. This is another line item that is basically when the project is in construction, there's a third-party engineering consultant who's essentially on site making sure that the contractor is following the contract. So that's kind of like a construction oversight line. So you can lump that in with construction too, but it gets divided up in our budgets for whatever reason. So what would it cost to halt the project and walk us back to like the beginning of preliminary design basically, or even back into scoping? A lot. I mean, and it's not just a dollar amount. It's like it's a lot of time and commitment and resources that are not necessarily just the ones that would need to go into the monetary budget line here, but probably anywhere from a few million to double the project cost. Because again, walking it back, I know that sounds crazy, but walking it back and redoing the design, like I said before, also means that you're now pushing the timeline out, and things are just more expensive. And this cost estimate is what we thought it would cost like 7 years ago, and if we take a fresh look at that, the number only goes up.
Go back one.
Is this?
Yeah. So resident engineer, inspection, Merrill and Chips, those are contractors, yes?
Yeah, that's.
Which is why
yeah,
they're $1
DDC
million, right?
Well,
Because there's no
it's-
because
yeah.
we can't like pay a city employee to come and like manage this for like half that cost, or, you know what I mean? I mean, this is not something it's rhetorical, but.
Sure. Go off.
You get me? It's like, we could have a city office come in instead of like paying $1 million for a contractor to like bill for hours. It's not that difficult. Thank you. Sorry, that's not on you. What was I doing? I was going to give you the mic.
Yes. So 500 people that are here that were here to speak.
No, it's almost 8. We got it.
Okay, I'll be quick. I'm Rachel. I just wanted to say something to the drivers that are here, because I also use a vehicle for work, and like some people actually need a vehicle, and they obviously need a place to park. But I think counterintuitively, like having more parking doesn't help that issue. Like, why is it that people with disabilities or people with young kids need a car? They need a car because these bike lanes are so narrow that if you have a child that's like learning how to ride a bike and they're really slow and they're like keeping up traffic, like that's really awkward, and these like parents don't want kids driving on the bike lane because it's too narrow. There's no way to go around these young kids. I just think that I totally feel you, like parking is so important, but I think like having wider bike lanes, having wider sidewalk will encourage more people to not have a car so that people who actually need it can use it.
Thank you. Thank you. Apparently I missed a page, so we'll get through this. I know. But people signed up and they will be heard. Okay, so Ben, Garrett? No, we did Garrett already. Where am I? Sorry.
You're on the back page.
What's your name?
Ben.
You're Ben. Right.
You're on the back. And go.
I just wanted to reiterate the importance of one of the points that I heard, which was the way that the green infrastructure and plants make the bike lanes smaller. As someone who has a dog that wasn't able to go on long walks, so they got a dog trailer, there's just places you can't bring your dog. Then 2 questions. I'm curious how wide the streets that lead into commercial are, so west, like leading in commercial, is that also 12 feet?
Those I think are like Clay and DuPont and.
Like if a car was coming north and then
like
on West Street coming north?
On West Street. I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say west is 30 feet on that last block. It might be more. I don't remember.
Okay. Just curious where the 12 came from, because I agree. I think it should be smaller. And then the last thing, I'm just curious, like if the DOT knows the number of parking spots that have been added with all the new builds.
That's absolutely a great. I should have put that in the presentation with showing like the before and the existing and proposed like parking inventory. I should have put that in this presentation. We didn't do it in time. We can get that number, attach it to this. We can show all the curb regulations that we were expecting to put, not as a final thing. Like we will. That's a very malleable piece of the puzzle. But yeah, like the parking impact is obviously something that's like very important.
Specifically the parking available in these buildings, because that's where I
Right,
my phone,
yes, yeah,
so
yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Totally.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hunter Armstrong.
Hunter Armstrong is there. Okay.
Yes, hi, thanks. Hunter Armstrong with Brooklyn Greenway Initiative. Where should I be standing? I want to say some things that Michael already knows, but for the rest of you, our organization was part of creating the plan in 2012 2012 for the Brooklyn Greenway, Waterfront Greenway Implementation Plan. And more recently, we created a user study of usage of the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway, including at this location that was completed in 2023. And so we'd be happy to share these user counts with the community board to sort of factor into your analysis of this project. And I'll also just point out, I agree with the comments from the community board and from the community about wanting to see this built to a future capacity, because there's so much development in this particular area, a lot of usage throughout the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway. And something that hasn't come up tonight is that Michael and his colleagues are leading the Queens Waterfront Greenway process. So eventually the Brooklyn Waterfront Greenway will connect to the Queens Waterfront Greenway, which will only increase the demand for capacity at this site, which ultimately is a good thing. We want more people using greenways. So thank you.
Thank you. Who did I have up? Oh, sorry. What's you're switching?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name's Harrison. I live in Brooklyn, and I think probably the biggest, as a pedestrian, quality of life thing for me is the sidewalk width and daylighting. So I just wanted to ask about daylighting. I know somebody asked that earlier, but I just wasn't clear, like, what is in there already, and then what kinds of things can we do to it just seems like, why wouldn't it be at every corner?
It will be at most of the corners already, and we can look to see where else we can add it. Like, why wouldn't it be?
That is my question. Like, what kinds of things go into making that decision? You know, I'm very bullish on
Right.
it.
So totally. Like the benefits of daylighting are obviously that it improves visibility for between motorists and pedestrians in the crosswalk, and that's absolutely like a uniform benefit with daylighting. And the trade-offs are that it takes parking, and then in some cases it can encourage cars to take a turn at a higher speed. That's the other. I'm just saying, you can weight them as, you know, based on your personal preferences, but those are the main factors with daylighting, and we can absolutely look at adding them in more locations, and those are the trade-offs.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No, you did right. You did
I said
right.
I wasn't gonna speak, but I don't drive, I don't ride a bike, not that I can't, but I can. I really don't think the bike lane needs to be widened and parking removed. We got people moving into this neighborhood who more than likely will have a car and not a bicycle. I don't know why folks are trying to take us back to the 1900s and riding bikes through the city without a car. I had three people come up to me and say, why don't we widen the sidewalks? Widen the sidewalks. Give people a place to walk. I don't understand widening a bike lane. We have enough problems getting on and off buses, and people that might have a car and they have double parking, especially on Grand Street, excuse me. You can't even get out your cab without a bike coming. And you guys who ride bikes, you don't pay any more attention to the law than the people that drive. As I stated in the meeting before, I got hit by a person twice on a bike, riding a bicycle, my grandson and I. And I have a suggestion. Please take this to the full board for a vote, because this has been going on too long. I do remember us discussing this, and I don't think it went over well, because you have the people that work in that neighborhood that are not happy with this plan, and then the folks that live there, that ride mostly bikes, that are not happy with this plan. So there's gotta be some kind of medium, some kind of middle that you guys gotta come up with. Okay, he's happy.
I'm glad he's happy. Thank you. This is insufficient for the timeline
of what we're being asked to commit to, which is forever, right? Basically, by the time there is any change to a capital build-out, and this is important to note, this is the first real effective capital build-out that we are talking about for the Greenway in North Brooklyn, right? It's a huge amount of resources, it's a huge amount of time. I want to say, and the reason why I was particularly sharp or harsh regarding the outreach is because in 2023, in late 2022, when Zach said, why isn't there a crosswalk connecting my buildings of 1,500 people to the playground where my daughter plays, DOT said, well, maybe we'll come back in 5 years and we'll look at it and we'll let you know when the construction is done, so on and so forth, right? And we finally got that crosswalk because we pushed. But folks are parked in it every day because there was no daylight, no protection, no stones, no nothing, right? I think that this is insufficient given what the community is asking for and hoping for. I would ask the committee to reject it wholesale. I would ask our electeds to reject it wholesale. I would ask for a street improvement plan to be done, in the meantime. If it's good enough for McGinnis, it's good enough for commercial. This is a wider travel lane that you're proposing on Commercial Street than McGinnis Boulevard has. McGinnis is an 11-foot travel lane, this is a 12-foot travel lane, right? And this is one of the most densely populated areas in the neighborhood. West is a 10-foot travel lane. Why are you widening the travel lane when folks get to the area where the parks are, right? There's so many things that are wrong with this plan. I just would ask the committee to reject it and make sure that this design matches what the community is looking for. Sorry, just 10 more seconds, which is every 3 months since January of 2023, this committee has been asking for an update from DOT and saying, we want to speak to DOT about it, we want to hear about it, we want to engage with the process. Rhonda said, okay, in 3 months we'll have something for you, in 6 months we'll have something for you. Not something that is going to strap us in permanently, but a discussion, a real discussion. And this is not a real discussion. This feels a little bit like a hostage situation. Say yes to it, because otherwise we flush $13 million down the drain. And it's no good, it's awful, it's bad, sorry.
I let you go on because you made that point. I knew you were going to make that last point. And also something that you whispered to me before, stakeholder meetings that the board never heard about, was not invited to, that I'm aware of. Right? Right, district manager. So, I don't know. Okay, so I've already said my piece, but I'm just keep finding things to be angry about. Okay, all right, so this is the last page. So just raise your hand if you got something to say, and then I'll call you up. Gregory Felix. Bailey Schweitzer. Schweitzer. No, Bailey? Yeah. Oh, okay, there we go. Bridget Rassman? Bridget left. Birgit. Jeremy Hinsdale, come on up. And last is Paula Sanchez, come on up. Okay. All right, these are the last 3 speakers.
4.
4? Where's the 4? Oh, don't hide behind that pillar. Get over here. All right, okay, sorry. Gregory? Yeah.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. I know this is kind of a marathon and you're going through the details of the plan. Thank you so much. I'll just say for the bike lane itself, this is the Brooklyn's version of the West Side Highway. In terms of places where people might want to recreationally take their bike, they just want to go out to exercise. You got the views of Manhattan, you're near the water in peak summer. It's a place people want to be. So in a lot of cases, this 9-foot wide bi-directional bike lane protected would be sufficient, but given we're in a grass crisis, this is a neighborhood that's just barely in walking distance to the nearest subway. It makes a lot of sense why someone might want to bike in this neighborhood, and yeah, I'd appreciate it, or go on to suggest that the bike lane gets made bigger. And as you know, and I hope everyone else knows, protected bike lane infrastructure also protects pedestrians. It even can improve driving speed. So I think there's a little bit for everyone in there. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Bailey?
Yep. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. I just want to echo what other folks have been saying. I don't really have much else to add. I guess I live on Manhattan between DuPont and Clay.
Go ahead, you're good.
And I think for me, just like the sidewalks, which folks haven't spoken so much about, are often quite narrow with the number of people who are running and walking, especially as the temperature is getting warmer and we're entering into summer. It's already quite busy. And just having a bit more space to for people and pedestrians would be wonderful.
Thank you. Jeremy?
Hi.
Thanks for being here. I just disapprove of the plan and echo the criticisms expressed by the board. We need a plan that prioritizes the community, not private vehicles, which seems what you've done here. I don't accept that the people of Greenpoint should have to accept this flawed plan. We have a new mayor and DOT commissioner, as you know. This is an opportunity both to get things done and get them done right, in my opinion. I also agree that we've had enough planning and should start with paint and temporary measures and go from there to the degree that we can. I know it's a little more complicated than that. I'll give you another example. It was a nice day today, and I was at Domino Park. It's a great public space, it really is, but it's already straining from public use and more large residential buildings are being constructed. This community needs more green infrastructure and better local transportation options. For instance, Plaza in front of the school on DuPont Street would have been a nice addition to consider. So we must not short shrift this area for the residents of Greenpoint, both now and in the future. In closing, thank you.
For the school plaza idea, I do believe that has been a request that came into our office already through like other channels, and the capital design is not preclusive of like a school street closure sort of thing. I think it would be more of an operational, what am I trying to say? It would be done operationally rather than necessarily closing the entire street. But that doesn't. I don't think the plan like prevents that. So I would say like we can continue to explore that.
Hi everybody, thank you to DOT for being here tonight presenting this plan that I firmly disapprove of. I would urge the community board to shut this down and go for something that is prioritizing the community a little bit more. I used to live in this area, now I live a couple streets away, and when I lived there, there were like less buildings than there are now, and it was really, really, honestly, a scary place to walk around. And I was just walking over there today, I dog sit in the area, and it still feels like the same scary place, and it's been 5 years. I think that's ridiculous. I think we need a plan that will be put into place faster, and even if that means painting, daylighting as we need to, protecting those crosswalks that are there, and then working towards a more permanent plan that actually solves the problem for pedestrians. We don't need a 12-foot street for cars to drive down. That's insane. That's going to encourage speeding. We need it to be slower. So everybody that has shared disapproving of this plan has raised some of the points that I think are the most important. But I believe in the creativity of our city government. I believe in the creativity of our community boards and our community members. I think we can come up with something that can solve this problem soon and then come up with a more permanent solution that is better than this.
Wendy Carlock, I think I saw that.
Oh, spell your name.
WENDICARLOCK.
Okay, go ahead. Last speaker.
Hi. I spend a lot of time on the waterfront, both as a pedestrian and as a cyclist.
And especially, this is making me think about that area that connects Brooklyn Bridge Park with the rest of Red Hook, that little strip right there. And as someone mentioned before, there are these big Amazon vehicles that basically take up the entire, there is no room to pass. And it is on a bike, I'm a very experienced biker, dangerous. And that would make it very dangerous for the pedestrians as well. And I think that if we prioritize cars, we prioritize it's for the few. Whereas if we prioritize sidewalks and bigger bike lanes, then we are doing this for the many. And as people have mentioned before, this is gonna be part of a giant Brooklyn, Queens super highway of transit for mostly pedestrians and bikes. And this is gonna be setting a template for all others to be modeled after. So we need to, this can't be the model. I disapprove of this plan. More foliage. I think there must be a way to the water drainage that people spoke about. Maybe some kind of landscaping option could be incorporated in that.
Great, thanks. Okay, thank you everybody for your comments and for your questions. So my understanding is you're coming to us with this plan as, checking a box, like you have to do, public notification, right? So this is the final plan that's going to happen, and you're just here to tell us what's going to happen, yes or no?
A lot of the design is done, but the design is not totally done, and a lot of the changes that people are asking for does mean walking it back, as I've said. So this is not where the design is at now is essentially like the cross section, the curb line stuff. That is what would move forward. If the decision is made to change that, it does interrupt the process and walking backwards. So yeah, and again, like I hear you guys. If that's the recommendation that the board is going to make, then that's what DOT will have to review and talk about with the other agencies and with the mayor's office what it means for the project.
Okay. Okay. Glad to know that the door is not closed. We've waited a long time for this. Perhaps we can wait a little more and do it a little bit more creatively for less than $12 million with paint and some, maybe a little less concrete, things like that has been suggested multiple times. You are not seeking board approval for the plan, correct? Like officially, you are not. You don't.
Yeah, I think
you don't need our sign off.
Officially,
Correct?
that's not.
That's a Maria question. Really.
Yeah, I think officially it's not like required at this stage, but.
This is not a project that requires community board sign off, correct? Okay. I didn't think so. I just wanted to make that clear. Okay. So, since we don't have shovels in the ground and we don't have a final plan, committee, who would like to entertain a motion? Meryl?
I would like to make a motion that we reject this plan that DOT has presented, and to ask them to explore a SIP project in the near future and revisiting a real, larger greenway project that speaks to the current and future capacity of this roadway.
Second?
I'm not on the committee, but may I make a comment?
No. Second.
A friendly amendment?
Wait, hold on.
Can I make a friendly amendment to my own motion?
Yes.
believe that's Robert's rule.
ask for an immediate pause on this design and request a stakeholder meeting within the next 60 days.
Immediate pause plus stakeholder meeting with the board.
The board as a stakeholder, yes.
Yes. Pause and stakeholder meeting within 60 days. And I would also like to make a friendly amendment to, I'm not gonna state all the points here, but as we draft a letter to include some of the comments from the public that have been repeated more than others. So like, prioritizing some of the comments, and I think we're capturing the majority of our discontent. Okay, so I accept. Still good with your second?
Yeah.
Okay, we do not have a quorum, but we'll do a sense of the committee. All in favor?
No.
I have to get there. I know you're a no. Okay, all in favor, who's here? On the committee, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it, right? 4, aye. Nay?
Nay.
This is Espinal. Abstain, there's nobody else to abstain, okay. All right, no quorum, this will be passed on to the board for a vote on the 14th of April at the full board meeting. I really want to thank you. I don't think you were walking into, a 2-hour session. So I think you did really well. We hate it, but we don't hate you, and we really appreciate your time, the engineering team, and Maria, thank you for your time. And also, at long last, Maria has joined us as the new DOT rep for CB1, taking over from Rhonda, and welcome to your first one. It was a good one.
It is.
Okay, good. Thanks for coming. And I think that closes this issue. Yes? Okay, thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
And public, thanks so much. You guys were great.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, just objective from the start, maybe. Whew, all right, kids. If you're not staying for the rest of the meeting, please leave now. Although you're very welcome to stay. We have lots of fun stuff to do. There's my notes.
Well, we have a street co-naming, which will probably be... Do you guys have a presentation? No, I'm state of speed. So that's like maybe 5 minutes, and then we're gonna go over Kent Ave. Yeah. I do. I'm not like the person to like hear it, but I want to be able to report back. Yeah. That's great. I don't know, we'll probably get to it at 8:30. We got here. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, folks in the room, sorry, there's one meeting, so if you have anything to discuss, that's great, but please just take it out into the hall so we can get to the next agenda item. Maria, do you want to hang out for the Kent Avenue walkthrough, just so you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only if you're gonna have a conversation, and then you can come back.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Thank you. Second item on the agenda is presentation for the street co-naming at the intersection of Bushwick Avenue and Stagg Street in honor of the Lebron Brothers, an internationally known Afro-Boricua salsa band, and Carlos Lebron is gonna do his thing. Expected a little like music or something.
You know, good music.
Should be on one contest.
You guys got me nervous. Be nice to me, okay?
This is really gonna be cool. I thank you guys, everyone, for your time. I really do. I just want to get a little bit comfortable, so I'm gonna ask you just two quick questions. Who heard of salsa music? Salsa music? Right? Who knows where it came from? You know where it came from? All right, that's awesome. So I'm gonna give you, I wrote down stuff. I'm just gonna wing it. New York City, I just wanna say that New York City, we're trendsetters. New Yorkers, there's a lot of trend setting. They know for their trend setting. On the corner of Stagg Street, actually on Stagg Street, in the corner of Bushwick, there was 5 brothers, 4 of them at the time that moved from Puerto Rico, Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, to Williamsburg, Brooklyn. They moved to Stagg Street at a very young age, 4, 5, 7, something that age. I think the oldest was 12. By the time they became teenagers, actually, they must have been like 12, 13 years old, they were so inspired with music. They were playing instruments, they were self-taught musicians. They were self-taught, learned everything from the house just by playing, touching, and having a good time. By the age of 15, they were very popular on Stagg Street. They were performing out their backyard. They were used to practice in their house, which was on the first floor of Stagg Street. And the neighbors, everyone in the neighborhood would listen to them. And there would be like a jam session right outside their house. And even in the courtyard, which was facing 196, Mesero, PS 196 on Skull Street, correct?
36.
No, 196 was the school on Scholes and Mesero and Bushwick. So again, these young brothers, there was 5 at the time when they were teenagers. They went to school at 196. They attended IS 49, that was their school. But realistically, they became so popular and they got the attention of a producer. What's his name? George? Goldner. George Goldner, who's a Jewish man, and he came down to listen to them play, which is really cool. He listened to them play, and he said, hey, I love what you got. If you could come up with 8 songs in a week, I'll give you an album. So they went home. My Uncle Jose, who is here, by the way, my Uncle Jose went home. He went home and created 8 songs with his brothers. Once again, he didn't know how to create music. That was his test to this journey. So he went home, they created 8 songs, presented it to George the following week, and George offered them a record deal, which they had to record in the following week, a week after that. They went into the studio and they started recording. Again, 15, 16, 14, the youngest was probably 12, but he didn't record at the time, right? He came later. So, with that being said, this man gave an opportunity to 5 Afro-Puerto Rican kids from Stagg Street in Williamsburg. They put out 6 albums before that golden album. So in 1969, they created a song called Salsa and Control. Salsa y Control. That's what it's called. 1969, that song became so popular that the genre salsa was created from that song alone. Amazing, truly amazing. So, which tells, I won't put this down. I was supposed to read it, but it's passion thing right now. So, realistically, the genre salsa was created on Stack Street and Bushwick. So do you understand, like salsa, they say, the meaning of salsa, basically you put some herbs and spices, you make this little soup, and it gives it a unique taste. So why, the reason why this whole salsa thing became about, because they started out as English singing, Latin sounding. They were inspired by Motown, R&B, and of course their Latin flavor. They mixed that together to give you a mixture of that music, all combined, Motown, salsa. I think back then music was called mambo, boogaloo, cha-cha-cha, and even the word mambo was like the biggest thing because I'm a big Honeymooners fan. I love the Honeymooners. So Ralph was like, you remember? Yeah. Carlos is teaching you how to do the mambo. Carlos. So they used that. They used that back then. But salsa wasn't popular then. So they never caught on. Again, when my uncle Carlos, and it means a lot to us because my uncle, well, thank God, he's alive, he's here. My father's still alive. And my other uncle Carlos. We lost Pablo, which was the lead singer. And he was, he was known as the Barry White of the Latin industry. His voice was just so strong. And then Frankie, the youngest brother, was an amazing percussionist, conga player. So there's three alive. The reason why I'm here today, because I would love to pay homage to the ones that are still with us. The ones that created, or is, how do you say, credited for the genre salsa from one song in 1969, Salsa y Control. You can Google it, you can check them out. I'm sorry, Theo, Uncle, Jose, you're about 74 years old? 70?
77.
77 years old. You have a concert coming up when?
In Colombia.
In Colombia. They still to this day fill up coliseums, not clubs. You're talking about soccer fields, full, 40,000, 50,000 internationally. They're a huge name. In New York, should. Brooklyn should. Williamsburg should represent them and let the world know where the stamp of salsa was created. Right in the backyards. Thank you. If you don't mind, Dr., you want to say something real quick? It's gonna down to me. I'm the son. I'm first line, and then my niece, who's the grandchild of the family.
Hi everyone, good evening. First of all, you're all really good sports because we've been here quite a while and you're still out here. So one, I just really appreciate you all being here. My name is Jocelyn Lebron, and like my uncle said, I am the niece of Jose Lebron and the granddaughter of Angel Lebron, who is the bass player of the Lebron Brothers. My uncle did not give himself enough credit because he's also a self-taught musician. So he deserves his credit as well, and he's only gotten it from the legends that came before him. So I'd like to say that I used to work for Los Sures, Southside United, which does a lot of community events with St. Nick's. So I'm happy to be in this space again because it's been so many years. But one of the things I was most proudest of working for Los Sures is the fact that they always preserved true Williamsburg culture. I'm born and raised here in Williamsburg, in Bushwick houses. I used to call it Bushwick all my life, but really it's East Williamsburg. And it's just so important to preserve the culture and the people who are, are embedded the fabric of this neighborhood. So I just want to say, like, not only through music, our culture, our food. We have to pay homage to the people who created this for us, right? Who made this so wonderful to live in. And we do that by honoring them while they're still here. So to my uncle, you are an amazing musician. The Lebron Brothers are legendary. I hope that you all go home and Spotify them or whatever you use to listen to their music, because I promise you will not regret it. And yeah, I just want to say, thank you for having us, and I really hope that we do this street co-naming the Lebron Brothers way on Stack Street. Okay, thank you.
Let me just get your name for the.
My name is Maisha Morales. I'm M-A-I-S-H-A and M-A-I-S-H-A Morales. And so not only I'm a friend of the family, they are family. We've known each other since we were like 12, right, Carlos? Something like that, 13. I'm also, just to be transparent, the president of Southside United Los Sudes. And so I just wanted to make a statement really quick, and so bear with me, I wrote it down. And in support of this street co-naming. So, the Lebron Brothers sound blended soul, jazz, traditional Afro-Caribbean rhythms in a way that was revolutionary. Songs like Salsa y Control, and didn't just make people dance, right? They built cultural bridges and reminded us of who we are actually. Honoring them with a street co-naming is about more than just recognition. It is about reclaiming space. It is about making sure our history, Afro-Boricua history, is viable, permanent, and respected in the very neighborhoods that shaped it. For too long, the contributions of Afro-Latino artists have been overlooked, even as their influence shaped entire genres and movements. The Lebron Brothers stood tall in that space, unapologetically representing our people, our sound, and our culture. A street co-naming ensures that future generations just don't hear their music, but they see their legacy. This is about cultural justice. This is about honoring Black Puerto Rican excellence. This is about legacy, memory, and pride. We owe them their flowers, not just in song, but in the streets. Thank you.
That's great. Can you? Yeah, of course. Can Ms. Morales, can you email that to the board office for the record? Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I wasn't going to speak, but I've been knowing Carlos for over 40 years. He and my brother are best friends. He's like my little brother. I've listened to Carlos sing, play music, him and my brother from 130 to 126 in the band. And naming this street and honoring this family will be a wonderful thing. We need to honor people while they're still here, because most of us leave, and these kids nowadays don't even know who this sign on the street right here is. I had to find out who it is myself today. So we need to let our kids know now, while people are still here, honor these people, because when they're going, they're just going. Thank you.
They're gonna probably attack me or something, right? I know, we're good. We're good.
Want to close it out?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't need a mic. The LeBron Brothers. Bueno, bueno, bueno. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 196, 49, the park, block parties. I lived in Williamsburg houses. I know about the LeBron Brothers. Oh my God, y'all were wonderful. Yes, vote yes, vote yes. Because they were awesome, and they did a lot of things down in the ramp on 10th for free, where we had block parties in the summer. We had jazz festivals in the summer. Yeah, I go way back. I'm not as old as you yet, but I get there. But yeah.
Thank you. I'm gonna add a little history real quick, just real quick. One of the singers back in the days with this golden voice, when they first started out, his name was David Love. He lived across the street he lived on Williamsburg Projects on School Street. in between Stag and Skull Street. His son is Kid Capri. If you know hip hop DJ, Kid Capri is his son, and that came again from the LeBron Brothers legacy. Their exposure, it touched everybody. Thank you. Chris?
I'd like, as a Hispanic on the board, community board, I'd like to welcome you and recognize you, and I do know who Los Hermanos Lebron are. So I'm very proud of you guys for being here and asking for this, so I fully support it. Thank you.
I think that might be one of the greatest presentations we've had. So here's the issue. There's a technicality in the city in terms of like street co-naming. It must be memorial. However, we have two brothers that can be memorialized. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I think we can say in honoring the LeBron brothers and then living and past can all be recognized.
Yes.
Well, my question is, why weren't you at the Super Bowl? We got one. We needed two.
I'm gonna answer that.
He called you, but you were busy.
If you Google Bad Bunny and his interviews, the names that he mentioned is the LeBron brothers. And he says it, and I have it on video, I have it on my phone, I can pull it up. His mention was, people that inspired me was people like the LeBron brothers. He didn't stop there. He started mentioning their songs, Fanta, Salsa Control, Arizona, De Patura. And he kept on speaking with emotion about the LeBron brothers. No, we weren't there. I wish we were, but we came close.
We got one. We got one.
We got one. And I'm gonna speak on what you said, and I'm glad you brought that up. There are people like trendsetters or hip hop. Kool Herc was known as the guy who created hip hop. He has a street co-naming in the Bronx called Kool Herc Way. He's still alive, he's kicking, and he is honored on the street. Yes, there's one person, but he is honored for the creation or the birth of hip hop. So, but I thank you guys for your time. Run DMC also, Jam Master Jay, and Wu-Tang Clan. But Beastie Boys have Beastie Boy Way in Manhattan, Beastie Boy Way, or Memorial Park or something with Beastie Boys. So, yeah, but thank you. It truly means a lot that you listen to us.
Well, I'm glad you said that. We do not have a quorum. However, I will make the motion to support the co-naming. Rosemary, all in favor, all five of us. Opposed, abstained, okay. So this will be voted on at the full board on April 14th. You're welcome to come and like say something during the public session before I get to my report. It's probably a lock. I wouldn't see why not. And I really appreciate you coming through. And to the family and everybody, it's important to, last month or 2 months ago, we did a co-naming for Baby's All Right, for the founder of that, who sadly passed before his time. And, as we lose more and more in this neighborhood, this North Brooklyn, to people, like you said, that just don't know, it's more important than ever to recognize the people that made it happen and contributed to the world. So thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, and now, Kent Ave.
Yeah, we leave it.
We kind of need to be out of here in a half hour. Okay. This is, Paul's gonna do this for Erin, based on the walkthrough y'all guys went through. This doesn't have to be here, although you knew it might.
Yeah.
But this is just to,
get we talked about Kent Ave before, but get the ball rolling on some details on stuff that we need to follow up on. Yes?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Paul, take it away.
All right, good evening, everyone. Continuing our discussion about greenways. And Rosemary and Merrill, we did a committee walkthrough a few weeks ago, so if you guys have anything you want to like jump in with, feel free to add it in. But the Kent Avenue and Brooklyn Greenway has been on the district needs report for the past couple of years. And so it's
Sorry. I can't have